Episode 51, Season 3, the Daily Intermission Podcast. I'm back in studio, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg. What a weekend we've just had. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed your weekends. A lot of news on the front of podcast co-hosts. But before we get into everything, before we get into the pregame show, quarter one, we'll talk about March Madness and how much madness has gone on in the NBA. Quarter two, we've got some NHL chatter. Quarter three, we'll move into the PGA Tour and MMA world. And like I said, on Friday, in quarter four, we'll talk about, I won't do a crazy in-depth preview, but we'll go through each division. We'll talk about, which teams we think could win divisions, which teams ultimately have a good opportunity to win a championship. Maybe we'll go through some home run leaders, maybe RBI leaders, things of that nature. Some guys that we expect to potentially be some award winners. But the pregame show brought to you by Manscaped. Ladies and gentlemen, head over to manscaped.com. Check out the Platinum Package with the Lawnmower 4.0, one of the best grooming razors on the market. Go over, check it out, the Weed Whacker, the Ball Butter, the shampoo conditioner. It's the products at Manscaped are amazing. The Lawnmower 4.0 is truly incredible. Water resistant. It's nick proof. It's truly a great razor. So head over to manscaped.com, use the code TDI20, or just use the code TDI. I'm sorry, there's no numbers attached to that. I've got so many different codes on the go right now that I keep messing this one up, but it's just code TDI at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. So as you know, I'm looking for a new co-host. I'm still sorting through, applicants, and there's been a lot of, I will say this, thank you to all of the people who emailed and stitched the video and sent direct messages. It really was a little overwhelming for me. Had a lot of candidates reach out, but as I discussed last episode, there was an adult star that reached out. And no, she's not going to co-host, but it sounds like she's going to come on for an episode. And her name is Bianca Burke. So I'm not sure how... obviously, it's out of my wheelhouse. It's not really what I talk about over here on the Daily Intermission. As you guys know, I think it could be funny. I think it could be an in-depth look into an industry that maybe we don't know a lot about. I'm really not sure what to do yet. So maybe you guys can send me a DM and maybe we'll talk about it in the chalkboard. Yes or no, should we have her on for an interview? And then, see, my issue is if we had her on for an interview, it sounds like she's free Thursday. I just don't know how far to take it. Clearly, I would have a plethora of questions that I would love to pepper at her. Some, I don't know where you draw the line. I really would struggle to how to approach it. Honestly, it would be a fun time to have our first kind of co-host tryout come on. But I don't think that would be the episode appropriate for that. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated on that front. It does sound like she's willing to come on for an interview. And I guess that's as far as I'm going to go into that. But some other news as well. So I'm doing that Where's That School segment that I do on TikTok. It's a fun one. For me being a Canadian, people get so upset in the comments. It's like, calm down. I don't know where schools are in the United States. But just due to the March Madness time of year, it's fun to just kind of throw out some random NCAA schools and try to figure out which state they're in. But on one of the Where's That Schools, one of my favorite receivers of all time, Julian Edelman, commented. So what I'm going to do tonight, and so it'll be yesterday, but I'll go live and I'll make sure everybody's notified that I'm doing this. I'm going to make a post replying to his comment, and we're going to see if we can get him on. We're going to see if we can get him on the podcast. I think if we get enough people sharing and liking and commenting Julian's name, I think there's an opportunity. I think there's a chance that we get Julian Edelman on the podcast. No, I'm not guaranteeing anything, and this is obviously this would be the plan that I'm about to roll out working perfectly. But he's commented. He's shown some engagement on the post. That means we're in the door. So we've just got to make some noise. And anyway, we'll see. I'm really excited about that opportunity. So I'm going to be reaching out to Julian and see if we can get him on, because everybody who knows me or listens to the podcast, how special of an interview that would be for me. And that's that's dream type stuff. So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep you updated. You'll see the post tonight, and we'll go from there. Just a reminder, folks, before we get into things, that the TaylorMade draw is this Friday. So if you're not following TaylorMade Canada on TikTok, go follow TaylorMade Canada on TikTok. Go comment on one of their videos. And yeah, we're going to give away a stall too. And I'm assuming that there's more to come. I'm assuming that we're going to get some more giveaways. The traction's been fantastic over to their page. So I'm assuming that we're going to keep on rocking and rolling with the TaylorMade giveaways. I'm itching to get the golf content rolled out, to get things rocking and rolling in that front. We're a few weeks away though. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving to quarter one, and we're going to talk about March Madness and NBA. And it has been a very weird year in the March Madness pool. I mean, if you picked a number 1 or 2 or 3 seed to win the championship, it's not your year. And I mean, we're down to the Final Four, and there's no 1, 2, 3 seeds. It's crazy. I think UConn is the top seed left. And they are a 4 seed, and they'll be taking on, I'm not sure who, you know what, I'll get this out now. I just have so we moved on to the Elite 8. In the Sweet 16, both number 1 seeds that were remaining, Houston and Alabama, ended up getting beat. I mean, it's just been mayhem. And then we move into the Elite 8. Florida Atlantic, the 8 seed, beat Kansas State, which I had money on Kansas State, so you just hate to see it. UConn beats Gonzaga. San Diego State beats Creighton, and the U beats Texas. So moving into the Final Four, we'll have San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. San Diego State being a 5 seed, Florida Atlantic being a 9 seed, and UConn, Connecticut, and Miami, the U, at a 4 and 5 seed. So awesome stuff. I mean, the top seed moving out of the Elite 8 is a 4 seed. It's just crazy to see. And on the women's side, I did want to mention this because it has been pretty special. So there's this girl named Emily Clark, I do believe. Caitlin Clark for Iowa. So she's been an absolute monster. Iowa's just cruising through the March Madness right now. And Caitlin Clark put up a 41-point triple-double. Like, are you kidding me? Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Like that, put up 41 in a college game. It's just outrageous. But she's been phenomenal. Unfortunately, the Cavender twins are out, which I know they probably were captivating a lot of audience, just being, TikTok and social media famous. So it's been fun to watch. I mean, it is overwhelming. Like, I mean, I find it's just a lot of basketball, but I've watched a few games in its entirety and I enjoy it. I do rather watch other things, I'll be completely honest. And it was actually funny, De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings, they were interviewing him and talking, I think it was before his game last night, and they said, De'Aaron, have you been watching much March Madness? And he said, no, I can't watch a full game of that. Just absolutely torching them. He says, we know, the shot selection, the quality of basketball, the reffing, the coaching, it's all really bad, which is fair enough. I mean, I think that if you were a basketball player, NBA player, De'Aaron Fox superstar, and you were watching a bit of it, it probably would be a little bit cringy at times. Being at the highest level of that sport and then watching something that's much lesser of a product, but nevertheless, the general public certainly enjoys it, and we've got 4 teams left. So out of these 4 teams, I mean, who do you ride? I think Connecticut. I think that's probably the team that I'll be cheering for. But I mean, it's just been wild. My bracket has been absolute. I don't even know if I'll do a bracket next year. It's just it's embarrassing at this point. But folks, yeah, we've got the Final Four coming, and then obviously the national championship game will be next Monday. We'll talk about that in the chalkboard. We'll keep things humming along in the March Madness scene. NBA talk. What is going on with the Dallas Mavericks? These guys are in serious trouble. They sit on the outside looking in on the 11th spot right now in the Western Conference. They have just been awful as of late. They lost to the Hornets. Last night. Like, that is awful. They just have not looked good at all. And Luka Doncic sounds very weird in the media. He was asked by reporters this week, how he's feeling. He's just essentially saying that he's not having fun right now. That a lot of it falls on him. Anyway, it was just a very weird interview, a very emotional Luka Doncic. But he got he took a technical foul against Charlotte. It was his 16th technical foul of the season. He'll be suspended one game. So they've lost 4 games in a row. Without Luka, it's going to be challenging to win the next one. So they've now fallen behind OKC. It's just outrageous. Obviously, Utah, too. Utah was in first place. Did we ever call that, folks? The collapse of the Utah Jazz. But, I mean, it's tough to see right now for the Dallas Mavericks. I think obviously Luka and Kyrie, I mean, you can't really complain. It's a fantastic backcourt. I just don't know what their depth looks like. And I think you need maybe 1 or 2 more pieces for that to really work. And Luka just seems like a guy that wants to handle the ball a lot, have a lot of usage. So it just really hasn't been fantastic there. So we'll see what happens there in Dallas. Not pretty right now. LeBron James made his return after, I think, 4 weeks, after a strained muscle in his foot. So I don't know if you guys listened to this interview by LeBron James after the game, but the reporters were asking LeBron if he needed surgery, and he said that 2 doctors highly recommended surgery. And they asked, so who was the doctor to say, just go ahead and come back and play? Well, LeBron James said it was actually LeBron James, and I said I was good to go. He said that the doctors were saying it was healing. It was the fastest healing torn ligament in a foot they've ever seen heal. It's just a complete milk, in my opinion. I mean, that guy is just, he knows how to milk a story, knows how to milk the media, just knows how to be milky all around. So LeBron continues to be milky, but he's back. That's big news for the Lakers, who are hanging on to a final wildcard spot in the Western Conference. Staying on the LeBron topic, Mario Chalmers. So we all remember Mario Chalmers, guard for the Miami Heat, through the big 3 Bosh, Wade, LeBron James years in Miami. Well, Mario Chalmers was on a podcast this last week, and he said that nobody feared LeBron James. Nobody fears LeBron. That's the biggest difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron. Everybody feared Michael. Nobody feared LeBron James. And this is, so I'm going to dissect this comment just briefly here on the podcast. So we look at Mario Chalmers, and he said nobody feared. So by saying that, Mario, I get the sense that you've surveyed, or everybody's opinion or everybody's emotional feeling in the NBA in regard to playing against LeBron James. Like, so you went to every locker room and went to every player and said, listen, how do you feel about, like, are you a little uncomfortable playing against LeBron James? Are you do you have a bit of fear? Like, it's just such an outrageous comment to me, especially when you group nobody, like, or anybody or nobody. Like, what do you mean nobody? I get LeBron James went to 8 straight championships out of the Eastern Conference, then went to the West and went to another one. 9 straight championships. He used to come into Toronto and just wipe the floor with the Raptors. You don't think that teams feared him or players? I guarantee coaches, players all around the league hated playing LeBron. And it's such an outrageous comment for a guy like Mario Chalmers to make. Like, the only reason you're relevant is because of LeBron James. LeBron James was the peak of LeBron, was when he was in Miami. An absolute freak of fucking nature. And you're going to come out and say nobody feared him? First of all, how do you know? Second of all, yes, they did. Anyway, Mario Chalmers, clown-ass comments. Ladies and gentlemen, the Western Conference is going to be wild for the next few days. So obviously, we got about 2 weeks left in the NHL and NBA, and the Western Conference is kind of the one I'm circling. We do have a bit of a race in the East in regard to jockeying in the wild card, but the Western Conference, 4th place and 10th place in that division are separated by 2.5 games. So if you go on a little bit of a slide and another team goes on a heater, like, there's going to be some serious movement in that Western Conference. So stay glued. It's going to be fun. We'll keep locked and loaded into the NBA. I cannot wait for playoff time in the NBA and NHL. But nevertheless, we're moving in to the National Hockey League, where I've got to give some love to my guy, David Pastrnak. David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins scored his 50th and 51st goal last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Boston Bruins were without Brad Marchand, without Patrice Bergeron, without Hampus Lindholm. Did they win? Of course they won in a shootout. Just a great game. I don't know if you guys watched the Bruins-Tampa Bay game on, was that Saturday or no? Anyway, yes, it was. It was Saturday afternoon. Well, the Lightning are on a slide right now. They haven't been playing well. We'll get into all of that here in a little bit. But the Lightning started Maroon, Colton, and was it Perry? And all 3 of them fought. It was just outrageous. John Cooper, he's got a little bit of a lunatic side. I don't know if you watch much Tampa Bay Lightning games or hear many of his interviews, but he can snap, and he likes his guys playing dirty and greasy. And I mean, it obviously didn't work against the Bruins. The Bruins ended up winning that game 2-1. But nevertheless, I'm super excited for David Pastrnak. He's such a great character. 51 goals in the year. Just a great milestone. I think that ties for 8th all time in Bruins history. Actually, I was looking it up. I was like, I wonder how many people have scored 50 goals for the Bruins. Well, Phil Esposito has scored over 65 times. He had a year, Phil Esposito, where he scored 76 goals. So yes, there have been plenty of players, and I think Cam Neely's got a 55 goal season. So, but pass is not done. Clearly, we've got a little bit of runway here for David Pastrnak to find the back of the net a few more times and kind of continue to climb that list in not only Bruins history, but it's just a nice milestone to hit in the NHL. Just definitely one of the purest goal scorers in the league right now. I guess we'll flip back to Thursday night when the Bruins were playing the Montreal Canadiens. Mike Hoffman and AJ Greer. AJ Greer, a kind of a third, fourth line utility guy for the Bruins, gets in every once in a while. He's actually been playing fairly regularly as of late with Nick Foligno and Taylor Hall out. But AJ Greer kind of got into a slashing/cross-checking match with Hoffman and then cross-checks him in the face. I'm not sure if you saw the aftermath of that. Mike Hoffman went onto his Instagram page and kind of ripped apart George Peros and the player safety, player committee, or the players. I don't even know what you call that office, but the people who dish out the suspensions. AJ Greer got 1 game. I guess Hoffman got a 2-game suspension for a cross check to the back of the head. Anyway, it was a tough scene. I mean, there was some intent there. I don't know if I don't know if that was his intended landing spot. When you're cross checking that area, it's certainly a landing spot that's in the likelihood of outcome. So AJ Greer sat out his 1 game. He's back in the mix. Just continuing on in the NHL here, let's move out west to the Vancouver Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks. So I've talked about this before. Obviously, the whole Bruce Boudreau situation at the beginning of the year was just terrible. They ended up firing Bruce Boudreau, and then they bring in an absolute stable of coaches, just phenomenal coaches with Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar, and just some Hall of Fame type players out of the NHL, guys with some serious experience and just great respect around the league. And it was like, well, Vancouver's not doing very well. They're not going to make the playoffs. What an opportunity would be to tank or not play well for the first overall pick because Vancouver-born Connor Bedard is available. Well, Vancouver Canucks have won 10 of 12. They've won 10 games in the last 12. Like, what are you doing? They fought into no man's land. And we all know no man's land is when you're kind of not in the bottom 6-7 teams in the league and you're not going to make the playoffs. So you're not going to have a great draft pick. And it's just tough. Like, you've brought in a coach that's obviously made some positive changes for the Vancouver Canucks. And I mean, it's not a complete write-off for them. Like, I do like a lot of their pieces, and it just really has been ugly at times this season. But I mean, I just don't think that was the direction that was, optimal for this team, was to win 10 of 12 and really fight in no man's land. But nevertheless, Vancouver on a heater. What's going on with Tampa Bay? So let's look at Tampa Bay here, folks. They haven't been playing well as of late. And, I guess the narrative you could stand with the Tampa Bay Lightning is that, they've been to 3 straight finals. They're not really interested in winning games, or they're not interested they just want to get to the playoffs. Well, with 8 games left, they're 4-5-1. They've lost 4 in a row. But the last 10 games are 4-5-1. They've lost 4 straight games. Vasilevsky hasn't been the same Vasilevsky we've seen at times, but we all know, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Man, there's just something about that team that irritates me. They've got so many guys on the team that just play just the right way, and it just gets under your skin. I mean, you think about Patrick Maroon and Tanner Jeannot and Corey Perry. I mean, they're just all hard guys to play against. Kucherov's got bite to his game. It's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of wake up. Chernak, that guy was looking at Jake DeBrusk when they played against each other on Saturday, and I thought Chernak was going to decapitate him. It was absolutely outrageous. But yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay, they're just on a bit of a skid right now. They're getting ready. They're playing Toronto in the first round. So, I mean, with 8 games left, 2 weeks left in this regular season, 2.5 weeks, we'll see what they've got. I will be able to watch them on, I guess, the 8th of April. So I'll be in there and maybe I'll go and have a chat with them in the room, see how they're feeling. And then just finally, guys, I mean, this wild card, the final spot in the Eastern Conference is going to be one to watch. Florida, Pittsburgh, and New York, they're all separated by about 5 points. And I don't think any of those teams can catch Tampa Bay. So it's really just those 3 teams battling it out for that final spot in the Eastern Conference. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be Pittsburgh, New York. I think Florida is going to lose tonight to Ottawa. It's a prediction that might come back to bite me. But I mean, Malkin scored that clutch goal against Washington late in the third. Unreal. But yeah, we'll see what happens there with those 3 teams, Florida, Pittsburgh, New York, all grinding it out for that final spot in the East. There's been some college prospects signed by NHL teams. The Sens have brought up Tyler Clevin and signed him to a 3-year entry-level deal. The Flames and Canadiens brought in 2 Harvard players and signed them to deals. Montreal signed Sean Farrell out of Harvard, and the Flames have signed former first overall pick in 2021, Matthew Coronado. So, I mean, we'll see what happens there. I always enjoy watching, for the teams that may not have, they're not playing for much. Obviously, the Sens and Flames are certainly playing for stuff. I mean, the Sens just kind of on the outside looking in. Montreal's not, but those are fun to see what these guys got, see what their prospects are looking like out of the college scene. I know this won't be released in time to hear it, but Edmonton does play Arizona tonight, and I did go on live on the line last week and talk about Connor McDavid's goal scoring success against the Coyotes. Now he's at 18 goals in 23 games, so I like at least 1 goal from Connor McDavid tonight, at least 1. So I think that's minus 160. I threw in a parlay with a Zach Hyman anytime point. So a McDavid goal with a Zach Hyman anytime point pays, I think, plus 150. Thought that was pretty good odds for tonight when the Oilers take on the Coyotes at Mullet Arena. So that'll be good fun, folks. But it's time. We're moving into quarter 3. And there was 2 PGA Tour events on this week. One in Austin, Texas, where they held the World Golf Championship match play, and one in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Kind of a low, and that was the event, unfortunately, I apologize about that, guys, that we had to pick our one and dones for. But the World Golf Championship match play was awesome. I really enjoy that event. It's good fun. I love how it starts on Wednesday. It's not really it's not a toe-to-toe watch for me. It's a check-in on it watch. And I guess that's the issue with match play and the commentators. I know on Tuesday and Monday when they were kind of previewing the event, they talked about how challenging it is for TV, especially on Sunday, when you only have 4 guys playing. No, it was a great event. So obviously we know that Sam Burns ends up beating Cameron Young in the final to win the World Golf Championship match play. So Sam Burns, I mean, this is a guy with a lot of winning pedigree. I mean, this is his 7th win, I think, in the last 3 years on the PGA Tour, 5th win. He's got a lot of game. I know a couple of my buddies who will be listening to this. Sam Burns gave us a huge ghost at the Canadian Open last year. We were kind of walking off the golf course at the end of the day of the tournament, and Sam Burns was driving by in a cart, and we're like, "What's up, Sam?" And he completely ghosted us. So we've got a bit of vendetta against Sam in that regard, but no, I'm happy for the guy. He's a player. It's nice to see. He didn't start off the season very strong, so he's a guy that we look at Augusta, could be in the mix. This guy, he's a big game hunter. He can play. There's no question. Cameron Young, obviously still searching for his first win. Former, I guess last year's Arnold Palmer Rookie of the Year winner. So Cam Young, I mean, he's got a ton of game too. And then Rory versus Scheffler we had in the semifinal. Obviously, we wanted to have that in the final, but it's still a great consolation match at the match play with Rory versus Scheffler, and Rory ends up winning that matchup. So Rory's driver, man, it sounded like he cut off a little bit of his driver. He was pounding that thing. That shot against Denny McCarthy, I think it was on Thursday, on the par 4 18, 375. He hit it to 2 feet from 375. So just a really fun week. Now we move into the Houston Open. I don't think the field's released yet. I don't imagine a ton of guys will play because it's the week before the Masters. I can't believe it's Masters in 2 weeks. So good. Oh, we do have the field out. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the field here, folks, and just seeing if there's any notable names. I'll just kind of start reaming off names that I see that Corey Connors is going to play. Ricky Fowler. Ricky needs a win. I think I'm going to be taking Ricky in the one and done. So all of you people who listen to this podcast and take Ricky Fowler, you're dead to me. Hideki's going to play. Looks like Hideki wants to get tuned up. Francesco Molinari's he's had some decent tournaments this year. Wow, it's a really weak field again, which you'd expect. I don't think I would play the week before the Masters. Yeah, so really the only really notable names, Corey Connors and Hideki Matsuyama, Davis Riley. I mean, obviously, it's just kind of a big tier 2 field. What you'd expect. I know some guys in the past have, and Ricky. So I think Ricky's going to win this event, folks. I'm going to come out and say this. I think Ricky Fowler is going to win the Valero Texas Open. So we'll see what happens there. I won't preview it too much. It's obviously in Houston, or it's in San Antonio, Texas, the Texas Open, and yeah, it's a fun one. I mean, Tony Finau won here last year. It's not elevated, so the winner only gets 1.6 schmil. Not that attractive. But the big one is the Masters, which we'll have a big preview show next Monday. Will be a lot of Masters discussion. I'm actually kind of I'm getting fired up just thinking about that. And in Punta Cana, I'm sorry, I got to give some love to Matt Wallace. Matt Wallace he's been a staple on tour. He's been pretty steady on tour for, I would say, 6 years. He's won 4 times on the European Tour. It was his first win on the PGA Tour, and that's a good feeling for Matty Wallace. So Matt Wallace, and if you know Matt Wallace, he's a cool cat. His short game's unbelievable. He gets into it with his cat. He's a bit of a snap show at times. So it was good fun weekend of golf, and hopefully you guys got a chance to watch the MMA on Saturday night. One thing I do want to preface this kind of whole discussion about is that the judging, and we've heard from Sam Alvey in past interviews, the judging in MMA might need to be addressed. Like, there were some fights I watched, mainly the Macy Barber fight. Macy Barber, so if I'm familiar, Macy Barber, she's a very, very popular, I think she's a bantamweight. She was the 13th ranked bantamweight, taking on the 11th ranked Amanda Lee. So they were fighting, but Macy Barber, she's an attractive girl. She's got a huge following. She's very popular in that MMA scene. And it felt like Lee really handled Macy Barber. Like, she had more takedowns, had I think 5.5 minutes of the 15-minute fight of control time on top. Macy had a couple good shots, but to the naked eye, to someone who is in their first couple years of watching the UFC, Macy Barber lost that fight. She ends up winning in decision. So I've got a theory, and this reminds me of the Sean O'Malley fight. Obviously a huge draw when he fought Peter Yan. If you've got a huge following and you are going to sell pay-per-view tickets, and if you want to continue to climb the ranks for bigger sells, the judges will judge in that favor, which is unfortunate because Macy Barber did not win that fight. I bet her to win that fight, but I don't think she did, which is unfortunate. But in the co-main event, Holly Holm, the absolute veteran who ended Ronda Rousey's run, she ends up winning. She's 41, still looks fantastic. And then the main event was the one I was waiting for. The bantamweight division in the UFC, it's just extremely competitive. Obviously, Aljamain Sterling right now has the belt. But Corey Sandhagen, the number 5 in the bantamweight, was taking on Chito Vera. Marlon Chito Vera, the number 3 ranked fighter. And Corey Sandhagen absolutely pieced this guy up in the first 2 rounds. Takedowns. What I love about Corey Sandhagen is he is just the most unpredictable fighter. Like, he'll throw flying knees. He moves around. He's so hard to hit. Both of these guys are very hard to hit, but Corey Sandhagen's got such a unique style. It's so fun to watch. He ends up just chewing up Chito Vera, ends up winning by split decision, which I thought was an absolute joke. It's funny too, because you go read the comments online after a UFC fight, and it's so funny. Everybody really, it's a pretty unanimous decision in regard to the public on social media. It's like, dude, that judge was an idiot. The judge who called Chito Vera winning that fight clearly did not watch the same fight as 99% of the people that were watching. And the Macy Barber fight, she posted an Instagram photo, and a lot of people went in on Macy, so that's unfortunate. But again, the UFC fights are captivating. So there's a Bellator fight this weekend, which obviously I won't be paying any attention to. But then we've got UFC 287, which is an absolute heater. So we'll preview that. I guess I'm gonna have a podcast. Maybe we'll do a podcast on Friday, podcast Monday, podcast Wednesday. And then obviously I'm off to Ottawa until Tuesday, so then it'll be another Friday. So we're gonna miss one episode. That's fine. So yeah, I mean, we'll preview those fights next Wednesday for the Saturday, because Thursday I'm traveling, and obviously the Masters is gonna take up a lot of my day and time. So anyway, nevertheless, we're moving into the MLB preview show, ladies and gentlemen, and we got opening day on Thursday, so it's here, and it's a marathon. It's going to be the dog days of the MLB, and I'm still I'm reflecting back to the podcast in the summer days where it's a grind. We've got golf, we got MLB, and we've got just headlines for other sports, people doing drugs and people getting arrested, and just random news of that nature. But let's start things off in the AL East, folks. I think this is a 3-team race this year. I don't think that the Red Sox are going to be very competitive this season. Don't love their rotation. Obviously, the departure of Xander Bogaerts. I don't know why I said Xavier. I was thinking X. Xander Bogaerts. But I think this is the team. I don't even know if they're an 80-win team this year. But the three-headed monster in the AL East is going to be the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Rays. It's kind of been like that for the last few years. But I'm going to predict in the AL East that the Toronto Blue Jays win the division. The Yankees come second. So that we'll go Yankees. In the AL East, we'll go, Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays, Sox, and we all know the Orioles. I mean, the Orioles had a bit of a Cinderella run last year. They were playing really good baseball through the middle section of the MLB season. They've got a lot of fun prospects too. Matt Holliday's son looks electric. They're going to have a lot of fun prospects. This team, they're going to be fun here in a few years, but I don't think this is a year that they turn it around. So we'll go Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays, Red Sox, Orioles. AL Central. This is interesting. Again, I mean, I think you'd have to say Cleveland's like the standout in this division. Minnesota is, and the White Sox, I mean, you think that they might be, right in the middle of the pack as well. But, I'll say that Cleveland wins this division. Minnesota, Chicago come second, third. And then we all know that the Tigers and Royals, I mean, they're going to be dumpster fires. I think Miguel's coming back for one more year. So, I mean, people will chime into Detroit Tigers games for that reason. But those two teams are terrible. So in the AL Central, we're looking at Cleveland to win the division with Minnesota and Chicago battling it out for that second and third, and then Detroit and Kansas City in the basement. All right, let's move out west. The Astros, Mariners, Angels, the Houston Astros, the Seattle Mariners, the Los Angeles Angels, the Texas Rangers, and the Oakland Athletics. Oakland's going to be brutal again. It's funny because there's a guy at my golf course, I think I've talked about this on past episodes, that his brother plays in the Oakland Athletics, and it just sucks that they're going to be friggin' terrible this season. But you'd have to think, I mean, Houston, is this a year that like Seattle, or could the Angels be good? Like, could the Angels with the two best players in baseball be good? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Houston comes third this year. That's going to be the hottest take I say, but they're going to be without Altuve for a little bit. They lost Verlander. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to say Houston comes third. I'm going to say Houston comes second. I'm going to say Seattle wins this division with that nice pitching staff. We'll say the Angels come third. The Rangers, they're going to be bad. I'm saying they come fourth, and I think the Athletics are going to be terrible. I mean, what's Billy Beane saying? Anyway, baseball is just, it's such a marathon, and I feel as if these teams that, like, obviously they don't spend money. So, like, how do you get good if you're those teams? Like, you just hope for a good year of just crazy analytics and horseshoes up your ass. Anyway, moving into the National League, folks. This NL East is the AL and NL East are three-headed monsters. In the NL East, we got the Braves, Mets, and Phillies, who are just going to be great. And then you've got Miami and Washington, who are going to be brutal. But I think the Mets are going to have a year. I know they're going to be without Edwin Diaz, who got injured at the World Baseball Classic, but I think the Mets are going to have a year. I think Steve Cohen's got those boys fired up, spent a ton of money. I think it's the Mets' year. I got a feeling about the Mets. Taking the Mets to win that division. I think Atlanta runs it up. Philly comes third. And then Miami and Washington are going to be shit. Okay, the Central, the two top teams, obviously the Cardinals and the Brewers. The Brewers have a phenomenal pitching staff. Let's just go over that pitching staff here quickly. You got Hader and where are we here? I had the pitching staff in front of me here before. I said Hader. Where is Hader? I don't know why I thought... why was Josh Hader in my head? That may not even be a pitcher in the MLB. I don't know why I thought that was. Why was that name in my head? Nevertheless, folks, the Milwaukee's Brewers, Corbin Burns, stud. Brandon Woodruff, stud. Eric Lauer, Freddie Peralta, Wade Miley. I mean, they're projected to be the third best staff. I mean, it's the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be phenomenal. This is pissing me off. Is he a closer? I can confirm that Josh Hader is the closer or for the Padres. Formerly played for the Brewers. So I wasn't completely off. Guys, I've got to brush up on my baseball. I've been vocal about it in the past. It's been a few years since I've really dove in and really immersed myself in the fantasy baseball. I've got to be better. I've got to hold myself accountable this year because I've been saying it for a long time. But nevertheless, I think St. Louis and Milwaukee will be battling out in the NL Central. Then you got Chicago, they could get in that mix, who knows, but I doubt it. And then Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are going to be terrible. And another three-headed monster in the NL West, the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants. I'm going to say that the Padres win this division. I'm going to say the Dodgers run it up, and then I'm saying the Giants come third. And I mean, the Diamondbacks and Rockies are just... they're brutal. But let's have some predictions here. What an awful preview show this is for the MLB. It's such a marathon, folks, that it's going to take us a few weeks to really get immersed in it. Home runs, I'm taking Pete Alonso to win the home run race this year. I know Judge coming off a 60 home run season. He doesn't even come close to that this year. Another name, maybe Kyle Schwarber you can throw out there. But I don't know why I'm looking at Pete Alonso. I'm looking at Pete Alonso to win the home run race. Ribbies. Gosh, I mean, Jose Ramirez has been a beast in the past. Yordan Alvarez. It's going to be interesting. Ribbies, we'll take Judge. Take Judge with most ribbies. It's going to be fun, guys. It's going to be. I mean, we're gonna dive into this here pretty soon. In regard to fantasy, do we want to set up a fantasy league? I wonder. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I'll reach out in the chalkboard today, see if anybody wants to set up a fantasy. I wonder if we can do one that's the issue with setting up fantasy leagues is that when your community is half decent size, like you want to get as many people as possible in. So maybe I'll reach out to Run Your Pool and see if we can get something going. It's gonna be a fun year. We'll watch the MLB and we'll follow the MLB, and it's obviously going to be a quarter of the episodes every week. So maybe my co-host, that's something that they'll have to be extremely versed in, is the MLB. Nevertheless, I apologize about that preview. Was it well planned out? No. Was it very captivating? No. Did it give you guys any insight? Well, probably not. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Friday. It's going to be a big week in sports, as it always is. And listen, enjoy your weeks. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you're on the TikTok. Make sure you're on the Instagram page. Make sure you're in that TaylorMade driver draw. Everybody, enjoy your weeks.